start actually by thanking Nada and Andres for standing up for philosophy yesterday. I'm a philosopher, and too many people think of philosophy as sort of an intellectual museum piece, something that was important in the past but is no longer significant. And now we have all this wonderful science and technology, much of which we've been hearing about at this meeting, human enhancement and data mining and so on. And that philosophy is just a relic. Well, I'm speaking up for philosophy too. Philosophy is a place of reflection and critique, where we can ask hard questions about our rush forward into what we believe is progress, and often does promise wonderful progress, but also may have a dark, dark side. So what I want to do with you right now is really to have a heart-to-heart talk with you. I know it's only going to go one way. You can't talk back to me. Perhaps afterwards you can. And I want to talk to you about this perplexing question of why we follow authoritarian leaders, why we participate in our own oppression, why time and time again we allow these people, often enthusiastically, to take power. And this is a very timely issue. All over the world now, there are authoritarian regimes rising, not just north of your border, but also south. Bolsonaro's election in Brazil, in Hungary, in Poland, there are right-wing extremist movements in Germany and Italy. All of these things are gaining strength. So I think this is a very timely issue. And I want to start with how Plato answered this question. And his answer was that people are stupid. He compared smooth-talking politicians to pastry chefs, or maybe the way we put it today, people who sell junk food that titillate our taste buds, sweet words without substance. As he put it in the Gorgias, written over 2,000 years ago, pastry baking has put on the mask of medicine and pretends to know the foods that are best for the body, so that if a pastry baker and a doctor had to compete in front of children, or in front of men just as foolish as children, to determine which of the two, the doctor or the pastry baker, had expert knowledge of good food and bad, the doctor would die of starvation. Well, come on. That really isn't a very satisfactory response, because followers of authoritarian leaders don't have to be stupid. That photograph there is a photograph of the 15 men who sat around the table on June 20th, 1941 in a place called Wannsee and decided on the extermination of the Jewish people. 7 of them had PhDs. They were not a stupid bunch. So we have to look a little bit deeper than Plato. And for that I turn to Freud. Freud had a very interesting analysis here. He suggested that people feel helpless. We human beings are driven by the sense of helplessness, helplessness in the face of injustice, and helplessness in the face of the forces of nature. And we seek salvation. And so we turn to those whom we think can deliver us from helplessness. As he wrote in 1927, as we already know, the terrifying impression of helplessness in childhood aroused the need for protection through love, which was provided by the father, and the recognition that helplessness lasts throughout life made it necessary to cling to the existence of a father, but this time a more powerful one. So if we apply this analysis to authoritarian leadership, the leader is the all-powerful father who can protect us, who can take care of us, who can shield us against all of the helplessness, all of the forces that trouble us. But Freud's analysis, too, is not adequate, because for Freud, everything comes from the inside. And he doesn't attend to how those in the world cultivate our feelings of helplessness through propaganda, They make us feel helpless, and then they offer us magical solutions. And for this, we turn to this man, Roger Moneycarl, who was a philosopher and a psychoanalyst. And his solution to the problem is that authoritarian leaders manipulate our fears. Moneycarl visited Germany in 1932, and the year that Pinchas was born. And he went to listen to Hitler and Goebbels, his propaganda minister, give speeches in the run-up to the election of 1933. And he was disturbed and fascinated by what he saw. And he saw that Hitler and Goebbels followed in their speeches a certain pattern. First, make the audience feel depressed. In Hitler's case, it was, we Germans have been humiliated in our defeat in the First World War. We've been brought to our knees by the Treaty of Versailles. We've let the race and the great destiny of German people down. And he goes on like this until the audience is, as Moneycarl says, rolling around in an orgy of self-pity. And then he changes his tune. He evokes paranoia and says, but it's not really you. It's the Jews, it's the communists, it's the international bankers. They are destroying everything that's good. They are the enemy, from inside and from outside. And once he has his audience worked up into a state of terror and paranoia, then he comes in with the magical solution. You need a strong man to save you. I can make Germany great again. I can destroy our enemies. Join the Nazi Party. And if you followed the first two steps, you're a sucker for the third one. Now, Moneycarl didn't intend this just as a comment on what happened in Germany. He wrote about it in a wonderful article published in 1941 called The Psychology of Propaganda. And he suggested that authoritarian leaders quite frequently use this sort of method to get us to follow them by manipulating our sense of vulnerability and helplessness. And I think he's right. And I want to give you an example of why I think he's right, which is Donald Trump's speech of June 15, 2015, when he announced his candidacy. Let me walk you through the steps. Step 1, evoke depression. Trump said, our country's in serious trouble. We don't have victories anymore. We used to have victories, but we don't have them. When was the last time anyone saw us beating, let's say, China in a trade deal? They kill us. They're laughing at us, at our stupidity, and now they're beating us economically. Step 1. Step 2, paranoia. This one will be close to your hearts. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over the South and Latin America. And it's coming probably from the Middle East, but we don't know because we have no protection and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening. That's a scary thought for many people. And finally, step 3, the strong man, the superman, salvation. Now our country needs a truly great leader, and we need a truly great leader now. We need a leader that can bring back our jobs, can bring back our manufacturing, can bring back our military, can take care of our vets. We need somebody that can take the brand of the United States and make it great again. So it's timely. And the message I want to leave you with, I think this is so important and so urgent, is that we are all vulnerable to this. When these people play on our sense of helplessness, when they make us depressed, when they frighten us, and then offer us solutions, the most stable and the most intelligent among us are potential followers of highly destructive, highly toxic, authoritarian leaders. So, please, be vigilant. It's coming. Thank you.